Speaking of, World Swimming bans transgender athletes from women's events. FINA members voted 71.5%. What? For a new gender inclusion policy that permits only swimmers who transition before age 12 to compete in women's events. Age 12? Okay. Budapest, Hungary. Does this affect... No, this is the world swimming thing, right? This is like the world standard for swimming. This isn't just in like Hungary, right? Oh, God. Jesus fucking Christ. World Swimming's governing body effectively banned transgender athletes from competing in women's events on Sunday. FINA members at the organization's Extraordinary General Congress voted 71.5% in favor of its new gender inclusion policy that only permits swimmers who transition before age 12 to compete in women's events. This is not saying that people are encouraged to transition by the age of 12. It's what the scientists are saying, that if you transition after the start of puberty, you have an advantage, which is unfair. Who? Which scientists are saying that? Sports is such an incredibly complex topic. I know this gets brought up all the time, but basketball is one of those sports that selects for height, right? The taller you are, the more of an advantage you have in basketball, right? So generally, when you see a basketball game, you're mostly going to see players who are taller than average, right? Because their height allows them to, generally have longer arms, and you can do more things with the ball, and you can scoop the hoops and push the poops, or I don't know what you do in basketball. But as far as I understand it, height is one of those things that gives you a huge advantage. And you're not going to see a whole lot of people that are shorter. You're not going to see any. You're not going to see a whole lot of 4-foot basketball players. You know what I mean? It's just how it goes. But yeah, that's not something you can control with medicine or science, right? Even if you got leg extensions, your legs would be so incredibly frail that you couldn't use that for sports, I don't think. Unless you got android legs or something, robot legs. The ones with the... Have you seen the ones with the curve? They look like kangaroo legs, almost. It's crazy. They're really cool, though. But, you can't control that. You can't say, people under a certain height are banned, or over a certain height are banned, right? That's not something you can do. So, people are just naturally going to have advantage. That's not... I just... Okay. Anyway, let's just finish reading the article. James Pierce, who's the spokesperson for FINA President Hussein Al-Musallam. Did I say that right? Told the Associated Press. They're not saying everyone should transition by age 11. That's ridiculous. You can't transition by that age in most countries, and hopefully you wouldn't be encouraged to. No, wait a minute. No. Hang on. If you know, right, then you should do that, right? Then who is this targeting? If you're saying, okay, well, you have to transition by age 12 in order to swim. Also, we don't want to encourage people to transition before age 12. So who's this fucking... Yeah, see, exactly. Who's this for? Who is this for? I don't... Basically, what they're saying is that it's not feasible for people who have transitioned to compete without having an advantage. You don't transition to compete. You don't do that. Nobody does that. Nobody's like unsatisfied with how they're doing in their sport or whatever, and then it's like, oh, you know what would be great if I just turned trans for some reason. Then I'll be able to compete against the women. You know, no, I don't think there are any confirmed cases of any of that happening. FINA's new 24-page policy also includes proposals for a new open competition category. FINA said it was setting up a new working group that will spend the next 6 months looking at the most effective ways to set up this new category. Pierce told the AP that the open competition would most likely mean more events, but those details still need to be worked out. No one quite knows how this is going to work, and we need to include a lot of different people, including transgender athletes, to work out how it would work. So there are no details of how that would work. The open category is something that will start being discussed tomorrow. The members voted after hearing presentations from 3 specialist groups, an athlete group, a science and medicine group, and a legal and human rights group, that had been working together to form the policy recommendations given by the International Olympic Committee last November. The IOC urged shifting the focus from individual testosterone levels and calling for evidence to prove when a performance advantage existed. FINA said it recognizes that some individuals and groups may be uncomfortable with the use of medical and scientific terminology related to sex and sex-linked traits, but some use of sensitive terminology is needed to be precise about the sex characteristics that justify separate competition categories. In March, Leah Thomas made history in the United States as the first transgender woman to win an NCAA swimming championship. She won the 500-yard freestyle. Other sports have also been examining their rules. On Thursday, cycling's governing body updated its eligibility rules for transgender athletes with stricter limits that will force riders to wait longer before they can compete. The International Cycling Union increased the transition period on low testosterone to 2 years and lowered the maximum accepted level of testosterone. What's the maximum accepted level of testosterone? Bitch, mine's like at 20. Like, what? That's so little. What is the level? What is the limit? Tell me. The previous transition period was 12 months, but the UCI said recent scientific studies show that the awaited adaptations in muscle mass and muscle strength and power among athletes who have made a transition from male to female takes at least 2 years. I don't know. I've always been kind of fucking weak. Maybe I don't get it because I'm not an athlete. Maybe I have the wrong opinion because I'm not an athlete. But I don't see why trans women shouldn't be able to compete with women. With cis women. That's just, I don't know. It makes no sense to me. I don't know why.